On February 17, 2026, a brazen 6 a.m. ambush in Graner shattered the peace as former NRL star Matt Utai was shot twice outside his home. Though Utai has no criminal ties, police believe the 5 high-caliber rounds were retaliation for his son Isiah's alleged defection to the Coconut Cartel. This blood-for-blood hit marks a chilling shift in Sydney's underworld, where innocent families now face the crossfire. The Graner ambush just after 6 o'clock on the morning of Tuesday, February 17, 2026. Macquarie Street in Graner was doing what it always does: quiet, ordinary, half asleep. Then, without warning, that calm snap. Matthew Utai, 44, had stepped outside his home and was heading toward his ute, getting ready for work. Utai wasn't known to police. No violent history. No criminal record beyond the kind of traffic fines most people forget about. Nothing about that morning suggested danger until a late-model SUV rolled in. According to investigators, the vehicle slowed just long enough for gunfire to erupt. At least 5 shots were fired in rapid succession. Neighbors described the sound as unmistakable: loud, sharp, high-caliber rounds echoing through the street. Almost immediately, screams followed. One resident, Salma, said she was jolted awake by the noise. She remembered the scream most clearly, and the sound of a car speeding so quick as it tore away. Another neighbor, Habibeh, ran outside and saw Utai lying on the ground, badly wounded. He had been hit twice, once in the lower leg, and once higher, near the shoulder and chest. The injuries would later be described as life-threatening. Despite that, Utai tried to get up. In a moment that stunned even seasoned detectives, he briefly attempted to chase the attackers before collapsing on his own front lawn. Police quickly labeled the shooting a brazen ambush. The way it was carried out: fast, targeted, and violent, pointed to planning. But almost immediately, investigators began to question whether the shooters had hit the right person. While Matt Utai was the one bleeding on the pavement, detectives from Bankstown Police and the State Crime Command's Raptor Squad turned their attention to his son, Isiah Utai. The theory was grim but familiar. Either the father had been targeted because his son wasn't there, or the gunman had made a catastrophic mistake. Paramedics arrived within minutes. Utai was stabilized at the scene, rushed to hospital, and taken straight into emergency surgery. The operation saved his life, but for days afterward, he remained in critical yet stable condition, hovering between survival and tragedy. What happened? The shooting cleanup began almost immediately, less than 30 minutes after the Graner ambush. Emergency services were called to Samuel Street in Wiley Park. A vehicle matching the description of the gunman's SUV was found fully engulfed in flames. To detectives, it was a familiar move. Torching a getaway car is standard practice in Sydney's organized crime world. Fire destroys DNA, fingerprints, and ballistic residue, anything that could tie a shooter back to the scene. The burned-out vehicle was seized by Strike Force Halesowen and subjected to intensive forensic testing. That charred shell would become one of the first solid leads in an investigation that would soon take a shocking turn, ending with the arrest of multiple teenagers. Matt Utai, more than a name in the headlines. The reason this shooting sent shockwaves far beyond Graner was simple: Matt Utai wasn't just another victim. He was a premiership-winning NRL player, a figure deeply respected in rugby league circles and in the community. Nicknamed a nuggety powerhouse, Utai built his career on strength, timing, and relentless effort rather than size. Born in Auckland, he moved to Sydney and worked his way through the ranks of the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, quickly earning a reputation as one of the most dangerous wingers of the early 2000s. His impact was immediate. In his debut season in 2002, Utai claimed the Dally M Rookie of the Year award, a clear signal that a new force had arrived in the competition. 2 years later, he etched his name into Bulldogs history, scoring 2 tries in the 2004 grand final against the Sydney Roosters. Those moments mattered. They're why the public reaction to the shooting was so intense. This wasn't just a crime story, it was a collision between Sydney's gangland violence and a man many Australians grew up watching on the field. After stepping away from professional football, Matt Utai didn't disappear from the game or the community. He stayed close to local rugby league, pulling on the jersey for the Auburn Warriors and remaining a familiar face across Western Sydney. By all accounts, he lived quietly working, training, raising his family. Police have been consistent on this point. Matt Utai had no links to organized crime, no underworld connections, no shadow life. That's what made the shooting on February 17th so confronting to the public. This wasn't a gangster caught in the crossfire. It was a respected former NRL star, shot outside his own home, in a street that had never seen violence like this before. The shift that changed everything is detectives dug deeper. Their focus moved away from Matt Utai himself and onto his son, Isaiah Utai. At 24 years old, Isaiah had a very different history with police. His record included armed robbery, drug supply, and firearms offenses. In 2023, he was sentenced to 18 months in custody. But it wasn't just his convictions that concerned investigators, it was who he was aligned with. Strike Force Hailso believe Isaiah was once associated with the Alameddin crime network, one of Sydney's most powerful organized crime families, heavily involved in drugs and extortion. At some point, that loyalty appears to have shifted. Police allege Isaiah defected to a splinter group calling itself the Coconut Cartel. In Sydney's underworld, that kind of move and just frowned upon, it seen as betrayal. The Alameddins are known for demanding out loyalty and for responding with extreme violence when someone is labeled a defector or a rat. That alleged switch set the stage for everything that followed, a murder that lit the fuse. Police carried out coordinated raids across Auburn, Guildford, and Marston Park. 5 people were taken into custody, all allegedly linked to the attacks on the Utai family and the retaliation aimed at the Alameddins. What shocked investigators most was the ages involved. Among those charged with attempted murder were 15-year-old and a 16-year-old. To detectives, it confirmed a grim reality in Western Sydney's gang culture. Teenagers were being used as foot soldiers sent in to do the dirty work, often under the influence or direction of older figures operating from offshore. Many of these kids had been pulled in by the lifestyle glamorized online, without fully understanding the legal consequences or the very real risk of death. How Sydney's underworld got here. To understand why this conflict exploded so violently, police say you have to look at how Sydney's criminal world has changed over time. The city has always had organized crime, but the rules used to be different when crime stayed quiet. In the 1960s and 70s, figures like Lenny McPherson, George Freeman, and Stan the Man Smith dominated Sydney's underworld. Their power came from illegal gambling, extortion, and deep-rooted police corruption. Violence existed, but it was controlled. Rivals didn't get sprayed in the streets, they disappeared. Keeping things discreet was essential to keeping business alive. The Beaky Eratha changed in 1908 for the Mopera massacre and open gun battle between the Comancheros and the Bandidos left 7 people dead and shocked the nation. From that point on, violence became louder, more public, and harder to ignore. Outlaw motorcycle gangs like the Hells Angels rose to prominence, controlling meth production and distribution, often working alongside international crime groups to import chemicals and precursors. When innocent people become targets, the most alarming shift in this war, who's being targeted? People like Matt Utai, men with no criminal history, are being dragged into conflicts they never chose. Family members are being treated as leverage, or worse, as payment. Police say this marks a complete collapse of the old criminal code, which once kept relatives off limits. Raptor Squad Superintendent Brad Abdi has warned that this change turns gang violence into a direct public safety threat. When homes in quiet suburbs like Graner and St. Clair are attacked, everyone nearby is at risk: children, neighbors, anyone unlucky enough to be close. To respond, police are now leaning heavily on digital access orders, allowing them to break into encrypted phones and devices. These tools are being used to charge people, not just for pulling triggers, but for directing crimes, funding violence, or being part of a criminal group. Offenses that carry long prison sentences on their own. A war that reaches beyond Australia. Strike Force hails and pushes forward. The investigation is no longer confined to Sydney. Isaiah Utai is believed to be hiding offshore, while senior figures connected to multiple syndicates are suspected of directing violence from the Middle East and Southeast Asia. NSW police are now working alongside federal and international agencies to track movements, cut supply lines, and secure extraditions. The Coconut Cartel may be a new name, but its impact has been immediate. By allegedly taking out a senior Alamedan figure and surviving the backlash, the group has shown that even powerful crime families are vulnerable. But that defiance has come at a devastating cost. The Utai family's life in Sydney has been torn apart, proof that even indirect links to the underworld can destroy everything around you.